Alright, what is going on, guys? Got one more breakdown for Bellator 273. This one's going to be on the main card at welterweight. We got Sabah Homasi taking on Jaleel Willis. Willis going to have a reach advantage, small, 1.5 inches. Homasi is going to be an inch taller, though. Homasi also older, 33 years old. Jaleel Willis, 29. So I'll start with Sabah Homasi. This guy's been around for a while. He has a fight credit with Strikeforce. He was with Bellator earlier in his career. He had a small run with the UFC, 3 fights. He was knocked out in all 3 fights. One of those was an early stoppage against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. It was definitely early, so they rebooked it. And then he got KO'd stiff by Al Hassan in the rematch, and then he was cut after that. So that's how his UFC run went. And it started Diaz McGregor 2. He fought Tim Means, and Tim Means did what Tim Means does in that fight. He just broke him down, got the KO. So he ran into stiff competition in the UFC and washed out, but he has been around for a minute. Had a nice start to his Bellator career. First round KO over Mike Terrell, okay. Then he wins a decision against Curtis Millender, probably his best win, at least in recent years. And then a crazy KO of Bobby Volker. He was knocked out by Paul Daly, who still was dangerous late in his career. I think that was his retirement fight. Got KO'd in the second round. And then he lost to Andrei Koreshkov, a respectable loss for sure. But stylistically for Homasi, he's training out of American Top Team, and he does a lot of things well. I just don't really know where he excels. Kind of one of those master of none fighters. He's got decent takedown ability, decent scrambles, pretty good striking. He's got really good low kicks that he goes to. He's got some power in his hands, not afraid to take chances. Problem with him is his cardio kind of abandons him. If he gets out of the first round, he's usually exhausted. In his UFC debut against Tim Means, which I think he did take on short notice, and granted, this was in 2016, so it was a while ago, he was exhausted at the end of the first round. That seems to be a recurring theme for him, though. He gets really tired early. And the only way he really keeps his cardio is if he wants to be measured, which he has been in some of these fights, But he doesn't do a ton with pressure. And, yeah, I worry about the gas tank. He's really dangerous in the first round, but at the same time, Jaleel Willis, not a ton of output. I'll get to him in a second. But, yeah, I think if Homasi's going to win this fight, he's going to have to invest in those low calf kicks. I think if he fights a smart game plan and he goes for something like that, like let's try to break the legs down, take away Willis's mobility, he'll have a chance. The problem is he just kind of gets into these wars in the first round, just kind of empties the tank, and then he tends to slow down, either get finished or lose by decision. But for Jaleel Willis, another guy who's been around, never been with the UFC, but has a notable win over Dakota Bush, fought Harvey Park, who was on the Contender Series, lost by first round knockout, lost to Kyle Stewart, who had a one fight stint with the UFC. He's been around in the regional scene a lot. Solid fighter. But yeah, he's got some solid wins too. Went 5 rounds with Vinicius de Jesus, was very measured in that one. His cardio looked good. And he is well-rounded, He's a good grappler, good wrestler. He's got very good cardio, like I said. He's got good movement. He kind of falls in love with his counters too much. I wish he would lead more. He's got decent kicking game. But the one thing I don't like about Jaleel Willis's game is he backs up a lot. He'll spend most of the fight on his back foot. And he's not like one of these fighters that has great striking off of his back foot. It's like I said, he kind of falls in love with his counters too much. He just, I don't know. A lot of these rounds are greasy. In that Vinicius de Jesus fight, I scored it 3-2 Willis, but it was close. I wouldn't have been surprised if de Jesus won. One judge gave it 50-45 for Willis, and I just don't agree with that. It's like a lot of these rounds with him are a little too close for me because he's just backing up. And if you're backing up and it's even on striking, the guy who's backing up is supposed to lose the round, because they're supposed to score on octagon control at that point. I don't know if that's actually a thing, though. It never seems to actually go that way. But, yeah, he does accept back position a lot. And he's got good wrestling in his last fight against a very solid opponent. He was working the wrestling early, had some success, but then he got reversed and then he was toast. Ended up getting choked out in the first round. But he had a 6-fight winning streak before that. Granted, not the highest level of competition, but he did start it off with Dakota Bush, Vinicus de Jesus, solid opponent, Mark Lemminger, solid. So he's been doing things well, and there's a lot to like about his game, but I just worry about output, and I don't like how he just moves backwards. And he's not one of these guys that has a very high finishing ability, which is always a little bit concerning for me. I like to bet on fighters who are at least trying to get the finish. And, it's more nuanced than that. If it's just like we were just talking about Sabah Homasi, I think he just empties the tank a little bit too much. But, yeah, Jaleel Willis, I think, could stand to have a lot more urgency. And so for this one, we got Jaleel Willis at minus 235 now. This line has been jumping all over the place. Willis was like minus 260 earlier in the week. Today, I looked, he was minus 260, and now he's back to minus 235. It's going all over the place, and I agree with it. I like Jaleel Willis a lot better at minus 235. It's still not great, but like when it was pushing up into that like 260, 270 range, I really didn't like it. And even at minus 235, there's just more comfortable. I mean, I would usually say there's better betting spots on this card, but there really isn't. This card is not that great for betting. It's sometimes best to just not force the action. But I do think if you're looking for value on this card, Jaleel Willis, as much as I worry about how he moves backwards and just kind of doesn't show a lot of urgency, he does do a lot of things well. I think he's a little bit better everywhere than Sabah Homasi, and the main thing is just the cardio. I think if he can get to the wrestling early, this will be a slam dunk for him. But I feel like he won't. I feel like Sabah Homasi is going to win the first round. So if you can get a live bet, which I don't know, some books don't offer live betting markets for Bellator, but if you can get it, you might be able to get a better price on Jaleel Willis after the first round. And then Jaleel Willis by points is about like plus 110, I believe. What's it at? Yeah, plus 100. It's not great, but it's better. I do think he's going to win by decision. Jaleel Willis has most of his wins by decision, but the problem is Sabah Homasi can get tired and leave himself vulnerable to a second or third round finish. But I tend to think that he's going to hold up, and it's just like I wanted to see if Homasi was live in this fight, but I just can't pick him. There's just too many flaws in his game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does pull it off. I do like Willis, but in terms of confidence, it's not that great. It's not the best price, but pretty much all the lines are juiced on this card. This one is better than others, and that doesn't mean you should force it, but it is available. So I like Jaleel Willis. Jaleel Willis by points is worth some consideration. I haven't bet on it yet. I don't know if I will, but plus 100 is a little bit better. So thanks for watching, guys. Sure, subscribe, and take it easy.